President of Sony Pictures Television Studios, Catherine Pope, admits Holly Woke continues shows that couldn't possibly make a bottom line because they are relevant. They could afford to do this when the money was rolling in. It's the same thing like with these bloat jobs like trust and safety and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those are charity jobs. They can only exist because the company is making money hand over fist, and they can afford to waste it on stupid shit like that. Now that the money's running out, so is all this junk. Have you seen all the stuff Netflix has been canceling recently? Like, oh shit, we can't afford to keep greenlighting every woke garbage show that comes across our desk anymore because we're running out of money. We need to focus on things that actually make us money, like Dave Chappelle specials, and fuck everyone else. This is a trend that could only happen in times of plenty, but it's over. So, as president of Sony Pictures Television Studios, Catherine Pope recently admitted that Hollywood studios do indeed prop up shows that are money losers if they are deemed relevant. And that's why you're all losing your jobs now. No, Pope, who was summoned or was announced as Sony Pictures Television Studios president back in July after being the head of original content at Charter Communications, specifically oversees all of Sony's domestic scripted productions. That's why they're all shit. And as part of a press release, Global Television Studios and Sony Pictures Entertainment Corporate Development Chairman Ravi Ahuja explained Pope's role. Catherine has proven herself as a dynamic leader with impeccable taste and ability to successfully develop and produce content that resonates with audiences. She just chooses not to. She's an excellent fit for this role, and I'm delighted she has chosen to join us at SPT. I'm delighted too, because it's just going to speed up your destruction. No, he added, Catherine brings vast experience that will help us build on the overall strength of our global production capabilities at the studio, with Catherine leading our scripted production business in the U.S. and Wayne Garvey leading our international production business. That one may see more success. We have an incredible leadership team dedicated to working with the industry's top talent to produce undeniable content around the world. Oh, it's going to be around the world outside the U.S. because the fucking Writers Guild of America is already talking about striking again over all the cancellations of woke bullshit. And I say, fine, just fire the whole lot of them and outsource their jobs. If they're fighting to keep woke shit in entertainment, fire them all. Nothing of value will be lost. In a recent interview with Deadline, Pope confirmed main critics of modern woke Hollywood have been saying for years that major Hollywood studios are eating large losses in order to indoctrinate viewers with woke messaging. Except that's not what's happening. So they think that they could co-opt and wokeify anything and consumers are just going to consume. And that is the case with a lot of consumers, unfortunately. But they miscalculate. Most people would just walk away. Like, look at what happened with Lightyear. Look at what happened with Strange Worlds. Pixar is now acknowledged to be woke shit, so audiences tune out. You're not indoctrinating anybody. The only people still watching your stuff are already woke, and everyone else walked away. And when asked whether or not Sony not having its own streaming service makes the studio vulnerable among networks cutting their programming, Pope answered, I think this slim down is hitting everyone. I think it's forcing us all to raise our game. I don't feel like we're particularly vulnerable. This is her low-key way of hinting. We might have to stop the woke shit for a little bit. That's right. Pixar went downhill as soon as Lasseter was kicked from the studio. Yeah, it's almost as if you take the guy who was the heart and soul of the studio and you get rid of him. It might lead to a major decline. Who could have predicted that would happen? Holy shit. You have to be Nostradamus to see that one coming. She then revealed sometimes mandates change. It's heartbreaking and there's been really nothing you can do about it. At other times, something is so relevant they couldn't possibly make a bottom line money decision against it because they just love the show so much. Well, you can only do that as long as other projects are making money. So as long as you're making things people actually want, you'll be fine. I'll admit, I'd probably do the same thing. You know, if I was running like 2 or 3 projects that made a lot of money, and then that could afford me, and I have enough money to fund this other thing that's probably not going to be as successful, but I just want to do it because I want to. Like it's a privilege of success. If you have other things that make you money, you can afford to lose a little bit of it by dumping it into a project like a pet project. But these guys canceled all of their, their actual money making projects. They're doing nothing but the woke shit. And then they're wondering, why aren't we making money? This is just weird. Yeah, when there are too many vanity projects. Yeah, the occasional vanity project is fine if you can afford it, but nothing but vanity projects. So Pope then declared, "I think we've got to continue to make the shows relevant and important and well produced." Well, if you focus on that instead of making money, you're not going to be able to do it for long. So not only did Pope reveal that Hollywood studios do indeed eat losses in order to push programming they deem relevant, she also discussed Sony's plans when it comes to developing IP. When asked what her own favorite IP was, she noted that's always the challenge with adapting IP. I think people somehow think it's an easier job to develop IP, but in many ways it's harder than coming up with original idea because you have to know what is core, the most incredible foundational pieces of the source material. That's actually true. I don't disagree with that. Now, how's she going to ruin it? And then you also have to know what isn't going to work for an entertaining TV show, and you really have to allow it to become its own thing. Now, this is actually true too. I don't disagree. Some things have to change when they jump mediums. But with all the woke shit they're putting out, it's obvious they don't know what actually works for an entertaining TV show. She specifically discussed the upcoming God of War adaptation, saying it's still in the early stages. She added, I know the game pretty well. I'm so impressed with what they are already doing in terms of building out that world and expanding, keeping all the values of the game, but also expanding it so that if you don't know the game, it's still going to be really satisfying to show on its own. Like with Halo, you going to pull another Halo? Pope also indicated that Cobra Kai might continue in another form following the series' sixth and final season. Though, when asked if the new Karate Kid movie is how Cobra Kai universe expands, Pope replied, they have some ideas in terms of expanding Cobra Kai and coming at the Karate Kid legacy in different ways. But yes, the movie is a good example too. It's all of those. She continued, I think we've all learned these worlds can exist together if they feel cohesive and they feel additive, especially for the fans. Well, then that means you're going to have to quit doing things that'll destroy it for the fans, like Star Wars or the Halo series or that Cowboy Bebop live action show. Feeling like big worlds that exist in a lot of different levels. They don't necessarily all exist on the same plane. Audiences are so savvy now and accepting multiple levels of IP, so Cobra Kai universe lives on. That's for sure. She posited. How long until they ruin Cobra Kai? She also noted that the Boys franchise that airs on Prime Video will also be expanding in multiple ways. The company has previously produced an animated anthology series titled The Boys Presents Diabolical, and now spin-off series of the titled Gen 5 back in December at Brazil's, was that CCXP? Okay. A press release explained the series is set in America's only college exclusively for young adult superheroes, run by Vought International. I don't care about these new series. Let's see. Concluding that interview by revealing one of the biggest challenges she hopes to solve: the amount of time between releases of new seasons. Well, you know what? I can agree with her on that too. Actually, yeah. I mean, just make sure you actually. So she's noticed she's talking about actually successful shows. So don't ruin them. So she explained the thing I've been tasked myself and the teams this year is examining time. Somebody was calling it slippage, the way in which these shows can be as much as 2 years between seasons. They can take 16 months to 2 years for the entire production cycle for a season, talking about 8 to 10 episodes. These shows are big, some of them giant. They might well be blockbuster movies every episode, but at the same time, it's not great for fans to have that big period of time in between. You could always pull a Rings of Power, then no one will want another season. Pope went on, it's awkward because the platforms have to remarket a show 2 years after the previous season came out. It's not great for us as producers to have these shows we can't repeat any kind of compressed timeline. Oh, they're going to be cutting corners now. So I don't think it's good for creators either, because they end up spending so much time on each season. That's all about making sure we're protecting the show. Oh, yeah, all about the show. And for the creator, it's their time and effort and ability to tell stories over multiple seasons, which is the art and beauty of TV. It's novelization of characters' stories. We lose that. We still lose a key foundation and part of our medium. Okay. Now focus on telling good stories. for Bogoon. So that's something we're focusing on, trying to bring a little more production and timeline hustle into the whole process. Speed it up just to make sure these shows get to fans as quickly as they can. Hey, chat, what corners do you think they're going to cut? Because a lot of these shows, they can only be as good as they are and have as high production values as they do because of the time in between seasons. I wonder what they're going to cut, man. Now, Pope's comments are also fly in the face of much of the narrative surrounding the failure of Disney's Soy Wars, in which both Cray KK and Iger claimed the problem with Star Wars was they were releasing too many films too quickly. Instead of wanting to spread the shows out, as Kendi and Iger previously indicated, Pope is making it abundantly clear she wants TV shows to have faster turnaround time so Sony doesn't have to remarket the show a year or two or more break to let their audiences know the show is returned. Now, it's one thing if you swamp people with like 5 movies a year, but if it's an ongoing series, like that's one thing a lot of long-running anime get right. Like every year, or every week for over a decade, you can expect a new episode of One Piece to come out. It feels weird when it doesn't.